What's up, bass heads? Party people in the place, it's me again. Down here in my storage unit garage, Sodda Pop Kid, OG Sodda Pop Kid, coming to y'all direct. I've been busting out quite a few tutorials lately after not doing them for so long. You know, I'm down here, about to do another one on another subject down here. This storage unit is a 10 by 30, 10 foot wide by 30 foot long. You know, so my 1984 Delta88 fits in here pretty good and gives me quite a bit more room to walk around. I was in a 10 by 20 at first, and I ended up in a 10 by 25. That I had a little bit of room in a 10 by 25 for walking room like this, but this 10 by 30 is a lot more bigger. I just wish it was wider. It was wider in here. You know what I mean? I wish it was wider. And it would be like an actual garage. You know, then I could maneuver around in here better. You know? But, okay, we're back down here on these modifications. All right, I'm going to do a couple videos just to make them shorter. You know, this video, I'm going to tell you, people has been asking me for years how much money do I think I've dumped on this Delta88 and doing all these modifications, especially on the stereo system. Now I'm going to tell you, I haven't added up all the money that I've spent on every stereo system that was put in here just yet. I have it all saved up in my attic. You know what I mean? In an envelope of everything that I've spent on a car audio down to the very last washer. You know what I mean? But that's another story. So I'm going to tell you about how much I spent on like going to auto parts stores and on mechanics, doing certain little stuff on this car, like, you know, brakes. There's certain things on this car that I will fix. I'm not a mechanic, but I'm mechanically inclined, as some people say. In other words, there's certain things that I will touch on this car, and there's certain things that I won't. Brakes is one of them. Now, I know a lot of people say they can't do their own brakes. I won't even attempt it, because to me, that's like suicide. You know what I mean? But there's several things that I do know how to do myself. Okay, and will do myself, like changing my own radiator and electrical fans. I do all that. Mostly all my car audio stuff, yes, I do all of that. I do my own builds, run my own wiring. I didn't do this alternator bracket, but I do my own wiring, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? Yes, I know to put on and take off alternators. Yes, I did my own MSD along with that Blaster 3 coil and that. You know, yes, I do know how to remove and replace carburetors as well as rebuild out-of-box carburetors now. Okay, and all of that. I know how to do stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, put on my own serpentine belts, change my own water pump. You know what I mean? I put the electrical fuel pump on. Basically myself, I had help from a mechanic friend on finding the location up under the back of the car and all of that. But you know, I ran the hose and everything myself and connected it all by myself. So there's certain things I know how to do. You know, made my own dashboard, you know, stuff like that. Okay? But so I'm mechanically inclined, you know, but as far as rear ends and changing trannies and pulling out engines, okay, no. All right, no. All right, but this segment here is about how much I've spent on this car as far as auto parts stores. So let me let you guys know before I tell you how much money I've spent in the last 24 years. So it's 2023, and I just started to spend money on parts again, like hoses and stuff like that. So I'm not going to add up 2023 until the end of the year. So at the end of the year, I'm self-employed. I'm a self-employed barber, so I have to show receipts for everything. I save up the receipts for everything. I put every receipt in its own envelope. Everything, like food, electric, gas, water, sewage, my mortgage and all of that. I put it all in its own envelope so I can keep track of it. Okay, that's what I do. And I keep it all up in the attic. And then when tax time come around, I go and see a tax man. I'll add up everything at the end of the year, like the end of December. Because I go see the tax man actually on the 21st of this month, which is February. All right, I'll add everything up, write it on the front of the envelope, what it added up to, take it all to him, and then he does all the other work from there. All right, now I end up owing the IRS at the end of the year. I don't get nothing back. Okay, I do a 1040 Schedule C. So we're going to get to, before I tell you how much I've spent, this is what I'm going to tell you. That everything that you see in here, now like I told you before, it's an 84 Oldsmobile Delta88 that came with a 307 in it. This is a 350 Rocket. Yes, it's a gold block, but I had spray painted it silver. More sooner than later, I'm actually going to spray paint it gold again because these are gold block engines. The 455s and 350 Rockets are gold blocks. Okay? Everything in this car has been modified. Everything. Okay, like I said before, it came with a quadrajet carburetor. It came with a computerized distributor. It came with an air conditioner, condenser. It had a cruise control on it and all of that under here, and only one alternator and V-belts. Okay, it had none of all of this stuff you see in here. It had a regular radiator, one-core radiator with a clutch fan, fan shroud, and all of that. Even the overflow canister was different. It sat up there where the MSD control box sits. Okay, so everything's been modified up under here. Everything, like I said, the bumpers, I designed those bumpers. The alternator bracket, as you see, is a 4 Dodge Diesel Cummins big case alternators on here. That manual tensioner, I designed that. That T down there with the 2 alternator idler pulleys on there, I designed that T too to get more wrap. Yes, I did not design this bracket. This bracket was taken off of a 1990 Chevy TPI throttle body out in Ohio. A guy by the name of Artius Reynolds and an old teammate named Scott Lott got together and did this bracket. Okay, this bracket didn't originally come on this vehicle. They made it fit. Okay, so what I want to say is everything in this car was trial and error. In the next video, I'm going to tell you a little something about the auto parts stores that I dealt with. Okay, but this was all trial and error. Everything that's done in this car, I didn't know that it was going to work in this car. I had to try it first, spend the money on it, spend the money on washers, nuts, bolts, screws, hoses, and climb under it and try it to see if it would work. Let's start out with an electric fuel pump. This didn't come with an electric fuel pump. I had to buy an electric fuel pump. I had to first do research on electric fuel pumps, ask questions on if it would work on this car and how they did work. Okay, I had to do that first. All right. Then I had to try it out to see if it would work. That MSD ignition, I always wanted one in here. Let me get a close-up on that with the Blaster 3 coil in there. I always wanted to try that. Okay, and then finally I did to see if it would work. I tried it, did the work, spent the money on it, it worked. Okay, those external regulators. Well, I've been using external regulators ever since I've been using high output alternators instead of an internal. You know what I mean? But yet and still, trial and error and money spent. Okay. When I went to aftermarket carburetors, I had a quadrajet, but I went to an aftermarket Holly first, but it had to be tried to see if it would work. Mechanical distributor. Like I said, this is an 84 oil, so we had to go back to a 70s electronic ignition distributor to see if it would work in a car that came with a computerized distributor. Trial and error. These are voltage step-down modules. Now, I did have the XS Power ones first. I had 2 of them, and those are for to run this 3-core aluminum radiator, and I got 4 electric radiator fans on here, 12 inches, 2 pushers and 2 pullers. I had to try all of that first to see if it would work. That was money and time. Okay, trial and error. I like these voltage step-down modules better because they don't get hot quick. They're stepped down from 24 volts to 13.8 volts. And the reason why I had to get them is because I run 15.8 volts now, daily. And the voltage was too high from the motors on them electric fans, and I was burning up motors. And so I had to get those step-down modules, man. It's like one thing after another. When you modify something, be expecting problems for a minute until you get everything figured out. Okay? That there's a battery delete. We talked about that in one video already. All my headlights, got 12-volt relays on them because there's something that happened years ago when we lift the body up off of this car and put hockey pucks under there to replace the frame bushings. Okay, still trial and error. I got that's a oil catch can on there. I got that on there. I had to try all of this. I had to spend my money. And granted, maybe if some of this wouldn't have worked, I would have just been able to send the parts back and just get my money back. You know what I mean? But you can imagine all the money spent on this vehicle doing trial and error. Okay? Let's go over here. Those mirrors, they didn't come on this car. See that bracket made? Had to get that made. Had to go to Advanced Auto Parts and find mirrors and come up with how I was going to mount them. Trial and error. And not only trial and error, a whole lot of thought put to this. These are volt locks. Shackle hasp locks, as they call them. You know how long it took me to think of this? And the reason why I thought of it was because my strikers, this door started to sag. The hinges started to go bad. Okay? And I had to come up, and it was bad. And I had to come up with a way to shut the door and keep the door shut. So I came up with that volt lock. That bar right there, and had to get it welded, and had to get a angle iron and all that put. I had to think of how I was going to do this to keep the door shut and to lock it to keep people out, and then put regular handles on it. Don't you know how to think about all of that? It took me about a week, maybe a week and a half, to think about how I was going to do this and where I was going to find locks to be able to keep this door locked. And those wasn't the first things I used. I used like a combination lock the first time I entered a competition, and the sound pressure actually broke the lock right in the lane. You know what I mean? Then I found these on Amazon. Trial and error. That wing right there that I made that out of wood, and then I covered it with resin and painted it. I wanted a taller wood, a more Batman looking wood. Trial and error. Wing, trial and error. And those locks are on my trunk as well. Okay. Like I said before, I got my amps covered up. Y'all seen my amps, man. I got 8 Terra-Amp MD8Ks under there, and I keep them covered up during the winter. I usually pull this towel off. You know what I mean? But I didn't pull it off this time. You know what I mean? Y'all seen them. And this 190 amp C-Max lithium battery, that was trial and error too. This is running a whole entire car all by itself, everything, headlights and everything, including stereo system. I got 64,000 watts happening up in here, and I do get 8,000 watts per amplifier on a burp. I do get the whole, a little over 8,042 watts, something like that, per amplifier. See this that's an XS Power IntelliCharger, a 1415. So it's a 14 volt IntelliCharger right there that charges this lithium. So this thing will take this lithium, like when it drops down into the 14s, into like the middle 14s, it automatically turns itself on and it'll charge this up to like 16.83 or something like that. And then it'll shut itself off automatically. So I have this connected to that battery bank all the time, like all during the winter especially. I just sit it on there and it'll just charge. The light is green. When the light turns red, it'll start charging it, and it'll charge it to 16.8 and just shut off. I'm really feeling this charger, man. I've been using one of these for 2 years now. Okay, I ain't got to worry about nothing when I'm not down here. Like, I burned up that battery bank twice using 16 volt chargers and not paying attention to them, and they literally blew up the batteries, man, twice. So I had to take all these drives of junkyards to find these batteries. You know what I mean? Like 5 hours one way. Trial and error though. I had to try that to see if it would work. It costed money, especially burning up to. So I spent quite a bit of money on here. So now, let me tell you how much money I've spent. Because I know y'all are curious. Okay, like I told you, I have receipts up in my attic. Advanced Auto Parts, I've been going to them since 1998. I've had this car since 1998. Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, Napa, Summit Racing, and then O'Reilly's come around here, around these parts. Okay, and around 2018 is when I started noticing the O'Reilly's that was up in Harrison Township. Okay, now they got one down here in New Kent now. Okay. And I started going to O'Reilly's only because they had Gates belts. Because I like Gates serpentine belts. They got the green belt, the HD belt, and I think the HD belt's a pretty strong belt. And I started buying those belts because I feel that they last longer. Okay. So Advanced Auto Parts. I started going to them in like 1998, okay? And been going to them way before anybody else since I've had this vehicle. And I'm gonna tell you what I spent. Since 1998 up until 2022, I spent $64,647.07 at Advanced Auto Parts alone. As far as the rest of them, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Napa, and Summit Racing. And Summit Racing is located in Talmadge, Ohio, which is an hour and 45 minutes driving one way. Okay, I could easily just get up and drive there when I'm ordering something if I need something right away. All right. So I added the ones that I just named to you, I add all them together and put them all in one envelope together. I don't separate those like I separate Advanced because I go to Advanced most of the time. Okay, so all of them together, another $60,767.03. So all together, in 22 years, I spent $125,414.10. $125,414.10. And that includes some mechanical work as well, but it does not include any stereo system. But I will tell you, as far as American bass, I've been buying American bass equipment since 2015. Okay, I've spent over 48 grand there so far. Okay, and Terra amps, since I started using them. So when did I start using Terra amps? Somewhere around 2019, I've already spent 16 grand buying Terra amps alone. I can tell you that much. You know what I mean? So within the American base, I have brought subwoofers, 18s, 10s, 12s, 15s. So I gave you how much I made as far as car audio with American bass and Terra amps. You know what I mean? But everything else like audio pipe and Shark and stuff like that, no, I haven't. Yeah. Okay. So this is called trial and error. Okay, and I've already went 20 minutes and 24 seconds and just giving y'all that information. That's why I'm going to separate these videos. You know, the next couple videos I'm going to do, one is, it's got to do with car audio, the word played out. Okay, what's played out? What is played out? Okay, I'm going to do one on that. And then I'm going to do one on what I went through with the auto parts stores. You know, and dealing with this serpentine belt setup that was put on here in 2018 because I had a V belt that had 4 alternators on it. Okay, I posted up a picture of that on Facebook. Okay, and I'd like to mention that this alternator bracket I had to pay them dudes in Ohio $1,800 just to make this fit on here. You know what I mean? And then from there, I'm dealing with idler pulleys and belts and carrying on, but that's going to be in another video. All right. So like I said, $125,414.10 in the last 24 years I've spent on this car and the modifications. All right. OG Sodda Pop Kid. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, people. Peace.